Hey guys, welcome to the Fool Show. Of course, I'm Foolish Phil. It's Monday, September 17th. It was a football-packed weekend. And just going to go through a few things that caught my eye. And if you have any thoughts or comments about them, feel free to let me know. Just Urban Meyer starts off the weekend with his little interview with ESPN. And honestly, Urban Meyer, just let it go. No one cares. We either think you're lying and enabling a wife beater, or we think you did absolutely nothing wrong. One way or the other, whatever the fan bases think. Okay. We don't care anymore. Your team is 3-0. They've just went into Texas and beat TCU. Let it go. I honestly think Urban Meyer has something where he's one of those personalities where he really wants everyone to like him. I think that's part of it. Maybe that's why he didn't fire his assistant coach who should have been fired years and years ago. Maybe that's why he kept him on. I don't know. But Urban Meyer just seems he can't handle anyone not liking what he's doing. I mean, it's like, oh, it's so disappointing. Just let it go. Then today he made another statement after his interview. It's like, he just can't let it go. All right, move on. Moving on. Big Ten this weekend. Cupcake Saturday, and that imploded pretty bad on the Big Ten. Nebraska lost. Northwestern lost. Wisconsin lost. Maryland lost. Rutgers goes to Kansas and loses 55-14. There were some other games like Illinois lost to USF, I think. Like, close game, it was fine. I mean, they lost, but it was Cupcake Saturday, and the Big Ten just looked terrible. Terrible. Sorry if the AC kicking on is making too much noise. I'll try to speak up a little bit. Now, the Big Ten, after the hype of the preseason, totally overhyped. Penn State, maybe they'll rebound. They almost lost to App State. Michigan State could have lost to Utah State. They lost to Arizona State. Michigan lost at Notre Dame. And even Michigan, they won by 25 points, so maybe I'm being ultra picky, but they didn't play that great, especially the first half. I'll get to that in a couple minutes. The only one who has looked decently good has been Ohio State. Of course, they've played 2 cupcakes and TCU, don't get me wrong, going on the road to a neutral site. Remember, that was a neutral site. It was not on campus. It was a neutral site. But Ohio State goes in there and gets the victory. We'll see how the Big Ten starts shaking out when teams start playing each other. I think it's 2 weeks, and Penn State hosts Ohio State. That will be a nice big game. I'm sure that's going to be a night game. Now, moving on to Michigan. Positives and negatives. First, start with the positives. Again, they won by 25 points. It's hard to be too picky. I mean, the spread was like 37. They didn't cover the spread. To go along with that, the second string didn't get to play like hardly anything. You saw Karan Higdon, he didn't even play. He got nicked up sometime. He didn't even go. Chris Evans left with a hamstring or maybe a cramp injury. I'm thinking it's more of a hamstring because he didn't come back. A lot of people were going down with cramps that game. Now, on a positive note, Shea Patterson and Donovan Peoples-Jones looks like they've got a good connection going. Obviously, 3 touchdown passes between them. Patterson, like 14 of 18, something like that, passing. Just extremely accurate passing, which is what you really want. Now, the offensive line gave up 0 sacks. Great. But they gave up pressure. And again, it's SMU. A team that doesn't have like a formidable defensive line. But they gave up pressure. But you know what? In big games, the all-line is going to give up pressure. So I'm glad that Patterson can avoid it and do a good job with it. Hopefully, the line can continue to go strong and not give up sacks. The downfall of the offensive line, though, was the rushing. The rushing was pretty poor. But if you look at it, SMU was putting 9, 10 people in the box, saying, you're going to run right to us. So I think that goes to the play calling. I was disappointed with the play calling in the first quarter especially. And then before we got the first touchdown, we just kept running power I, up the middle, up the middle, up the middle, up the middle. It's like running into a brick wall. We got speed with Evans. Why don't we try at some angles? I don't know. So I was disappointed in the play calling. I thought we should have started passing a little bit more when they were just playing so tight. on the line, moving those safeties down. Now, another negative, penalties. Looking back at them, there were some penalties, but the reffing was terrible. That pass interference where the ball landed 4 yards out of bounds, how is that not uncatchable and picked up? They called some really weak penalties on that scoring drive for SMU. But you can't do anything about the refs. I was glad to hear that the Michigan coaching staff got a sideline warning for freaking out and complaining about the refs. That's good. I wanted to see more fire from the coaches like that. I don't know if it was Don Brown or if it was Harbaugh. Either way, I like to see that, honestly. That's worth letting the ref know how upset you are with the terrible calls. The D-line, though, SMU had given up like 8 sacks their first 2 games. The D-line didn't do much of anything. I mean, Winovich did a really good job of like breaking up screen plays and hustling and getting plays. So, okay. But I was looking for some sacks, and like, man, the team just didn't really get them. We did injure their starting quarterback, and then their backup was much more of a runner, so that was tough. But again, yeah, McSorley's going to be a runner, Lewerke's going to be a runner, and Haskins of Ohio State, they're all going to be runners that can get out of the pocket and hurt you. Michigan has got to learn to close that pocket so that the quarterback has to stay in there. It's been a frustration point, I think. Another thing, which if you watched the game, you saw it, the SMU offense was using little rub route, pick plays. Hey, it's not a penalty, they don't call it. What can we do to fix that? Is it going to be where we have to go zone in the end zone or close to it so that we don't get picked off like that? I think Don Brown's going to have to fix that, because all those plays that were working against us, every other team's going to see it, and they're going to be doing the same thing. So they're going to do it until we fix it. Now, the team itself, the defense, has been kind of getting criticized. Yet again, I saw the stat today. They're number 1 in yards per play against, like 3.99. So they're the number 1 team in the country with 3.99 yards per play against, with 3 games against FBS teams, right? So not like, you know, the super ultra cupcakes. A win's a win. Hopefully we get back our injured players and look ahead to Nebraska. Nebraska's a maize out on Saturday. If you're going to the game, wear some maize. Not this blue, wear the maize. I'm going to be wearing the maize too. I'm not going to the game, but I'll be wearing the maize for symbolically, right? Alright, switching gears. NFL. I got to give props to Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Blake Bortles. I have been kind of critical of him. I didn't really think it was worth the contract he signed. Comes out, outplays Tom Brady. 3 touchdowns, 300-some passing yards, somewhere in that range. He played great. You know what? I'm starting to be a believer in him. He had a really good postseason last year, earned the contract, and he's backing it up. That can't be said for Matt Stafford. Talking about that in just a minute. Kickers. It was not the weekend to be a kicker. Cleveland and Minnesota turned wins into losses because their kickers could not hit their kicks. Both teams lost, or a tie for Minnesota, when they easily could have won those games. I'm wondering about Cleveland. They play the New York Jets on Thursday. Are they going to be able to get over the hump? This is like their best week, probably outside of playing Detroit, to get that win. They're short week. They get a rookie quarterback. Their defense is pretty good. Are we going to see the end of Tyrod Taylor? I mean, he could be 2-0. Don't get me wrong. Tyrod Taylor could be 2-0. But are you going to put in Baker, right? And go with him as your starter? I don't know. It's kind of tough. It depends what the locker room is like. Are they going to stick with Tyrod or move on to Baker Mayfield? We'll see. But I think I'm picking Cleveland to win that game Thursday. Now, the biggest, well, not disappointment because I expected them to lose. The Lions, not a moral victory. They lost again. Calls went against them. Little Garrett Blunt gets kicked out of the game for shoving a player, coming off the bench and shoving a player. I don't know if he was trying to fire up the team or what, but it just seems kind of silly. I don't know. I just didn't think it was necessary. I didn't like the play for whatever it is. Did it spark the team? Maybe it did. Either way, it's another loss. the offense just seemed like it was stuck in mud. Next week, against New England, you're going to have a good offense. I want to see Jim Bob Cooter bring out Stafford, and let's just go and hurry up, no huddle, and let's just go, go, go. You're like, Phil, what about the letting the defense rest? You know what? Having a 3-and-out versus hurry up offense is not much of a big difference. If you go 3-and-out hurry up versus 3-and-out versus just regular offense, there's not much difference in time. Seems like Matt Stafford gets into a rhythm when the game's kind of over, right? When there's nothing to lose, you can just gunsling it all over the place. Well, let's just do that, man. Just start off in the hurry-up offense, and let's just get the offense rolling. But Detroit's going to have a hard time shutting down the offenses. They let San Francisco score 30 points. Jets scored, I think, 40. It's going to be tough, right? 45 points, something in that range. Sorry if my numbers are wrong. You get Tom Brady. You're going to have Cam Newton, Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott. Don't forget all the running backs they're going to have. Christian McCaffrey, Ezekiel Elliott. New England runs out all kinds of them who can't prepare for them. They have like 4 running backs they use. One thing I want to talk about. Matt Patricia and his inexperience as a coach is really showing. If you look at it, the Lions are relatively in the games at halftime. In the third quarter so far, through 2 games, the Lions have been outscored by 35 points in the third quarter. 35 points in the third quarter. That's telling me that the other coaches know how to change things up. They're changing their scheme. They're changing their attacks. Matt Patricia is not keeping up. Matt Patricia is not doing enough changes, not changing the right things, and you're getting down 35 points through 2 games in the third quarter. That's not good. That just shows he's really behind on his preparation and his thinking. Now, New England next week, at home, Sunday night, prime time. Everyone gets to see how bad the Lions are. Everyone gets to talk about how Matt Stafford is like one of the highest paid quarterbacks, and you know what? What happens with that? You get a highest paid quarterback and you don't get much else. Well, they'll lose again on Sunday and be 0-3. But I'll get to my official foolish picks on Thursday or Friday. We'll see. Oh man, my picks were terrible this week. Last week I went like 11-3. I haven't even tabulated yet. I'll do that tonight after this. Oh, it was a bad week for me. But you know what that means? I'm a Lions fan. Sort of. I follow them along with New England. New England's really my team. But that just means you pick up the pieces and make some more picks, and hopefully you do better. It'll be hard to do any worse than I did last week. Like, pretty much everything I picked went wrong. At least Michigan won. That's the important thing. As long as if I get Michigan right, I'm okay with it. Oh, hey, thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. If you have any comments, put them in below. If you have any topics you want me to talk on, let me know. If you like this show, give it a thumbs up. And if you really liked it, give it a subscribe. Appreciate it. Hey, thanks for watching, and as always, go blue.